weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. All right, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. The last 24 hours have been very, very, very chaotic across the Atlantic. We now have not one, not two, but three areas of interest that we're going to be talking to you about in detail. As the tropics are finally waking up in the Atlantic, that switch has been flipped and off to the races we go. So with that being said, we're going to go to the NHC and dive right into it. So this is what we have for you right here, ladies and gentlemen, across the Atlantic. Three areas of interest. We have Invest 95L over here. We have this big tropical wave that we've been covering the last few days here in the main development region. And we have this area of interest over here off the Carolinas coast that we've been covering for the last week here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. So with that being said, we're going to be going over all of these right here. We're going to be going over models. We're going to be going over conditions. We're going to be breaking down everything as quickly and as efficiently as we can in this video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start with the immediate threat, which is Invest 95L, and then move from there. Showers and thunderstorms have increased in association with a non-tropical area of low pressure located a few hundred miles east of the North Carolina coast. While satellite and wind data show that the low is producing gale force winds, the system remains attached to a frontal boundary. However, environmental conditions are conducive for the system to acquire additional tropical characteristics, and a tropical storm is likely to form by Monday as well as east of the North Carolina coast. For additional information, including gale warnings, please see the high sea forecasts issued by the National Weather Service. 70% chance of formation in the next 48 hours, 70% in the next 7 days. So basically, in order for a tropical cyclone to be a tropical cyclone, is essentially you cannot have fronts attached to it, and its source cannot be baroclinic forcing, and it has to be theta E, which is kind of evaporation from the water temperatures. That's the general gist of it. And there's a lot more dynamics and synoptics that goes into it. I'm not going to get too much into it right now, but for at this current time, we need to continue looking at the other areas of interest as well, and then we'll dissect more of 95L in a second. In the central tropical Atlantic, this is the main development region, a tropical wave is forecast to move off the west coast of Africa by late Monday. Thereafter, some gradual development of the wave is possible, and a tropical depression could form late this week while it moves generally west-northwestward across the central tropical Atlantic. This was tagged last night, by the way, just last night around 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This already has a 40% chance of formation in the next 7 days. It started at 0-20, now it is 0 and 40. The models are increasingly confident that this system is going to develop, and we're going to want to pay attention to that as well. And now this is what we have for the biggest breaking news right here. This is what we are just seeing about an hour ago at the time of recording this video. We now have this area of interest that has been tagged off the Carolina coast and north of the Bahamas. An area of low pressure could form in a couple of days a few hundred miles southeast of the Carolinas. Some gradual development of the system is possible by midweek as the system drifts northwest. Formation chance in the next 48 hours is at 0%. In the next 7 days, it is at 20%. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as well. We're going to have to keep you updated on all of these threats here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But moving forward from here, let's go ahead and start taking a quick look at this area of interest, 95L. We're going to be looking at the main development region, and we're going to be looking at the off the coast of the Carolinas. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start right here. We're going to go ahead and move up and take a quick look at the northeast western Atlantic, just to show you what's going on. This is what we have pulled up for you. This is Invest 95L. As you can see over the last few hours, convection has really increased. Honestly, I was looking at the models. They were showing a low pressure system, but I was not really thinking anything tropical was going to come out of this. I thought it was going to remain more mid-latitude and not be tropical in nature. And boy, was I wrong, and boy, did the NHC pick up on this, and boy, have they tagged this. Let's go ahead and show you what's been happening over the last 20 hours or so, just to give you an idea of what's going on. So this is what we have for you at this current point. So you have the system coming off the Carolina coast. Convection starts firing up. It's more popcorning convection, but then earlier today, This is actually about 6 a.m. at the time you're seeing this. You're noticing a lot more convection starting to fire up. It's been sustaining itself for the last several hours, and we'll go ahead and play that loop for you again. So it starts popcorning, kind of levels off for a bit. Then around 3 in the morning, you start, or around 4 in the morning Eastern time, you start seeing this blow up. And it's been sustaining itself for quite some time. And I honestly would not be surprised if it detaches from the frontal boundary by tonight and becomes its own tropical system. This would be Tropical Storm Dexter, and the convection associated with this and gale force winds are generally around tropical storm force, I would say, and this would automatically become tropical storm Dexter at the intensity it is right here. So I would not be surprised if we see that tonight, but we'll have to pay attention to that moving forward. But ultimately, you're kind of looking at this, the tropics are really waking up, and this is kind of another one of those surprise storms that we're seeing right here, and we'll have to watch that. My main concern with this, though, is mainly Bermuda, as well as shipping concerns, as well, like shipping, like for on the lanes and all that, because that is going to be moving through some pretty big shipping lanes as well. Also, another thing to note too, meteorologically, is you're noticing a lot of this outflow boundary that's really been picked up. There is a strong amount of wind shear to the north of Invest 95L. It's really enhancing the outflow considerably and allowing for the convection to concentrate, consolidate, organize, and all of that stuff. And we'll have to watch that. We'll have to pay attention to that moving forward. So that's kind of the situation we're looking at with 95L. Let's go ahead and move on to the main development region. So looking at the MDR for you guys right here as we continue to take a quick look, looking at the Eastern Atlantic, as you're starting to notice, we have a tropical wave that's going to be moving off the coast of Africa. If it hasn't already, we'll go ahead and go to 30 frames just to show you this. We have this tropical wave that's moving off the coast of Africa. In the next 3 days or so, it's going to be moving over southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and from then on out, it's going to start potentially organizing and developing as conditions become increasingly favorable in that region over there. So you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. This has the potential to be a very strong and very powerful cyclone for those who are watching the Lesser Antilles, as well as shipping and all of that area. So you're going to want to watch that as well. But this has been the big kahuna I've been talking about, and this has been kind of the big thing that kind of the Climate Prediction Center has been watching as well moving forward. So that's kind of a few things we're going to watch. There's going to be some more things to pay attention to as well. This is the wave train starting to act, ladies and gentlemen. You have more and more of these tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa, moving into the main development region, moistening up the atmosphere to allow for this kind of development to potentially happen right here. And we're kind of seeing that from the NHC. The fact that they've already exploded the intensity, not the intensity, but the fact that they've already exploded the chances on this 12 hours after they designated this is pretty concerning for me looking at this, because before we were looking at 0.20, now we're looking at 0.40. I'm wondering if it's going to be potentially 0.50, 0.60 by the end of the day, and then maybe even by tomorrow as well. So we're going to want to watch that as well. But the fact that the NHC has really designated this and they've really upticked their chances goes to show just how confident they are that something big is going to be happening in the main development region. So we're going to want to pay attention to that as well. But shifting back over to the northwestern Atlantic, once again, what we have going on over there off the Carolinas coast is you're going to have a low pressure system. I'm not sure if it's this tropical wave or not that's going to be moving over there, but we are looking at potential development off the Carolina coast, and the models have been picking up on it pretty aggressively, actually, with some development potentially happening, and a possible tropical storm impacting North Carolina and South Carolina, similar to what Tropical Storm Chantal did back in early July. So we're going to want to pay attention to that as well. And now we can go ahead and show you some conditions that we're seeing across the Atlantic, and we'll go ahead and pull those up right now. So this is what we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. These are your water temperatures. This is backlogged to July 29th right here. I will warn you in advance right here. I'm going to see if there's any updates with that. There isn't, but even July 29th with this, you could still see a general gist of the tropical conditions that are across much of the Atlantic. So what we can take a quick gander at right here, we can go ahead and start with the MDR and then work our way further to the west. Main development region, at this current time, what you're looking at here, you have all this water temperatures, 28 plus degrees Celsius of water temps across much of the MDR. Where the system's going to start organizing and developing right over here, it's in an area around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius of water. That's 80.6 to 82.4 for those of you living in the United States or her territories. And that is a lot of warm water to take into account as well. And as the system starts to move further to the west into the northwest, it's going to remain in about the same water temperatures, but the ocean heat content is really going to turn up and really going to increase as a result. So you're going to want to watch that as well. And we can go ahead and show you that as well. So ocean heat content, we're a couple of days back from this right here. We can go ahead and show you that what we have for August 3rd. OHC across much of the main development region really isn't that impressive in the eastern MDR where the system starts to develop originally. But as it moves further to the west and further to the north, you're going to see more pockets of 50 plus OHC over here around 25 to 30 degrees north in that region. I will say that 50 OHC may not seem like a lot, but you're missing two important factors. Number one, this is a lot for that part of the Atlantic. And number two, 50 OHC is still very conducive for pretty decent strengthening. I've seen rapid intensification in the most ideal conditions happen at 50 OHC. So we'll have to watch that as well. But moving back to the water temperatures and taking a quick look at what's going on in the northwestern Atlantic, where this Invest 95L is right now, it's in an area of about 29 to 30 degrees Celsius of waters. That is very warm for that part of the Atlantic. And I was actually talking to a couple of my friends, Ethan WX and Matt. Those are very close friends of mine. The water temperatures in that region are very, very warm. In fact, some would say they're historically warm. I know in the Chesapeake Bay they record a temperature of around 90 degrees Fahrenheit in there, and that's not been seen before. At least from from Ethan WX's recollection from when he was telling me this when I was talking to him on the phone earlier today. But for those of you who are wondering, 29 degrees Celsius is 84 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 degrees Celsius is 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's what both the Invest 95L and this area of interest off the Carolinas coast is going to be sitting over. And that is a very big concern I have over there, because if you look at the OHC, man, oh man, it's really blown up over there. As you're looking at this, where 95L is currently, it's in a pocket of, I'd say, about 50 to 75 OHC. It's pretty much hugging the loop current right here, which is why it's performing as well as it is. And that's kind of not that surprising when you think of it from that realm. But what is surprising is just how far to the north it is and how much it's performing that far to the north. And it's really starting to become less mid-latitude based and more tropical based at a very quick rate. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. But the area of the Carolina coast, you're looking at 50, 75, potentially over 100 OHC in parts of the loop current right here. Not the loop current, but the Gulf Stream. Did I say loop current? I meant Gulf Stream across much of this area. The loop current's in the Gulf, but the Gulf Stream, you're looking at all of that and potentially another system organizing and developing there. Under the right conditions with plenty of low wind shear and plenty of moisture, that could really intensify a system very quickly. So if you're in the Carolinas coast, if you're on the east coast of the United States, you need to be on high alert with these areas of interest. And we'll keep you updated on those here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. Now shifting over, let's go ahead and take a look at some models. We're going to show you the European, the GFS, and a few other operational runs. Then we'll show you the ensembles as well, just to kind of take a quick look at those and some conditions as well that we're paying attention to. Matter of fact, let's start with the wind shear first and to give you an idea of what's going on with that. Let's go ahead and use 200 to 850 millibar wind shear. So basically across much of the Atlantic, and I mentioned this in the last few videos, the wind shear around August 6th across much of the Atlantic collapses completely. That is a huge problem, and that is why we're seeing all these boom, boom, boom AOIs getting tagged by the NHC. They're watching this, and they're watching these patterns. They're going, oh crap, we're looking at a pretty favorable environment over here. It also helps that the Madden-Julian Oscillation, or MJO, is over the Atlantic right now, and that's causing more divergence aloft and more convergence at the surface. That is very conducive for convection. So that's something that I've been noticing right here. And across the Atlantic, you're looking at these wind shear patterns. They remain very, very weak moving on. And this isn't like a pattern right here that's going to be lasting for like 5 days. No, this is going on for the 14th, the 15th, the 16th. Yes, there is a little bit of shear increase in parts of the Atlantic basin right here. But across the MDR, the Gulf, the northern part of the Atlantic basin, this is what we call open for business. These kind of shear patterns are what we call open for business. And that is something you're going to want to watch. There is low wind shear, not just in the MDR and not just in the Atlantic basin, but everywhere from the time they're tagging these AOIs. And that is something you're going to want to watch. There's a very big possibility we could see 3 named storms in a very short period of time. And I'm not discounting that either. Like, we're looking at a very active phase of the hurricane season going forward. Now looking at the moisture and taking a quick look at the 700 to 300 millibar relative humidity and then the precipitable water anomalies very quickly. Across the Gulf Stream, where 95L is, it's in a very robust pocket of moisture. This is going to have no problem developing, in my opinion. And we're going to want to watch this. In the MDR, yes, there is some dry air in this region right here, but that's easily going to get mixed out. And you're starting to notice that with more convection blowing up because of the Madden-Julian oscillation, the ITCZ really firing up as well. And then you have this big moisture pocket that this low pressure system is going to be moving through. It's going to be pretty consolidated, and dry air, as long as the wind shear is relatively weak, is not going to get into that. And similar situation over here across parts of the Atlantic right here, where that new AOI was tagged just about an hour ago at the time of recording this. You're noticing a lot of moisture right here, and yes, there is some dry air over there, but compared to the precipitable water, we're looking at a much more moist environment across the Atlantic than average. This is the only thing I need to show you with precipitable water at this point. All these factors are very favorable for tropical development. And I've been saying that for quite some time. It just took a while for the AOIs to get there. A more moist environment. When I first saw this back in early June, I was like, this is a ticking time bomb. Once the switch is flipped, it's going to go haywire. And I would argue that today, August 3rd, the switch has flipped. And we're looking at all of this stuff happening across the Atlantic, and this is stuff you're going to want to pay attention to if you're in the Lesser Antilles, if you're in the East Coast, if you're in Bermuda. Heck, across the Atlantic, you're going to want to pay attention to these because this is not even peak hurricane season. This is August 3rd. Climatologically, August 20th is when the surge begins. And I've been saying this for the last few weeks. The late July to early August is when I think the tropics are going to wake up. And they absolutely have woken up at this current point. Showing you some model runs. There's the 0Z European, kind of keeping the system relatively weak, but I will say, with 95L, the models are running behind with this, mainly because of just how aggressively the NHC has been updating this. Now, in terms of what's going on in the MDR, European generally has this moving northwest, and then starting to strengthen as it heads out to sea, but it does get down to hurricane strength as we get to August 11th right there, so you're going to want to pay attention to it. And then you have this area of interest right here. The European is having a hard time picking up on it at this current point, but other models later are. And starting with this, we'll show you the 12Z GFS just for context with this. So here's the 12Z GFS. It's definitely doing a lot better with Invest 95L, so we're going to want to watch that. But then about 102 hours out, it has another system organizing and developing off the Carolina coasts, or becomes a tropical storm actually, and moves off the East Coast actually, moves off Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, potentially up to New England as well, towards Canada. That warm water is absolutely going to help that. And then in the MDR as well, the GFS is struggling to keep up with that, so we'll pay attention to that. But the main point is the tropics are waking up in a very big way, and we'll keep you updated on all of these things here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're closing the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. Join the Storms Unite Discord server. The link to that is in the end screen. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.